Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Majora's Mask Deep Dives. In this episode, we'll be looking at the third area in the game. This includes the Southern Swamp and Woodfall Temple. The swamp alone isn't enough for a good long video, so we'll also be looking at the temple. I also like to thank everyone for watching these videos. I really enjoy making these videos, and it's better than what was previously being made on this channel.
Not intentional, that was not scripted. Now I'm paused here for a reason. Let's examine his fridge.
Put it in the crazy box.
So,
It doubles as the breadstick.
then, they just kind of talked about it. You know, they kind of went public with it. And there wasn't really...
So come along with me as we go to the Southern Swamp. Well, to start, let us look at the south wall of Clock Town. Thank you to this commenter for pointing this out to me. Somehow I forgot to talk about this in the last episode, but on second thought, it probably works a lot better like this. As you can see, the exit of South Clock Town is very tribal, wooden, and green. It's a very nice exit. This also really fits with the theme of the Deku Palace, almost to a T actually. And this is a place we'll visit shortly. In the field, as I talked about in the last episode, we can see the log, which also has a Deku flower beside it. We can also stand on it. Funny enough, I've never done this before. After I left the log to show off the little Skull Kid drawing, I went back to the log, to see where they found him before, Skull Kid. And what I found is that there's actually a secret grotto there. Now in this grotto, there are 2 cows, and I thought this was pretty interesting. So we finally know where more cows are in Termina, and how people get their milk. Very, very cool. Very, very interesting. Amazing. Once you enter this first part of the Southern Swamp, there's some trees and a general forest area. At night, there'll be woofos here, but in the day, there's choo-choos, and during the day, as long as the keys during the day. There's also a fork in the path. One fork is a shooting range, but however, if you keep going straight, you can enter the topic of the episode, the Southern Swamp. When you first enter the swamp, you see the Swamp Tourist Center, something that no other area in this game has, surprisingly enough. And this is already heavily implying that tourism is a big part of the economy here. This place is actually not optional. You must be a tourist, since you need to take the boat to destroy the giant Octorok here and continue throughout the map. The tourist center, I think, is very interesting as well. Tingle's dad works here, and we'll probably touch on that later. I don't like talking about Tingle. But as well as that, the interior is quite nice. Probably the nicest place in all the Southern Swamp from a livability standpoint, to be honest. I like how you can see into the box where whoever the witch's name is here, Katake or Katome, I don't care. When she's back there, you can see her nose, which I think is just so humorous. Lily pad jumpings here, they can show off how well Deku Link can move. Something they absolutely destroyed in the 3DS port of the game. Up the stream, you can find the potion shop that is ran by Kotake and Kume. I hope I'm saying those names right. But the path from the main area to the potion shop feels a lot like the path to the Great Deku Tree, and even now to the Deku Baba place, but not really sure about that. Just kind of saying stuff here. The Lost Woods is here, in spirit at least, same music as well. It's called the Woods of Mystery. However, it's much simpler, and you get around here by following these dumb monkeys around. As for the potion shop itself area, I kind of went in here for about 5 seconds. I also noticed that the Twin Rova music was playing, which is a nice callback. Also, I noticed this waterfall, which is a nice touch. I like how the shop itself is elevated on top of another elevated structure. Also, which kind of ticked me off, is the shop is off-center from the main floor. Not very cool, Nintendo, not cool at all. As for the Woods of Mystery, these are the Lost Woods, but you can't really cheese it. In Ocarina of Time, that is this little thing where you could walk into each path and you can see the fog go away. Well, you can't do that here, so you need to follow the monkey. You also find some enemies here, unlike the Lost Woods, such as the Turtle Rocks, or the Turtlores, whatever they're called, and eventually you'll find whatever the other half of Twin Rova is, and you continue the story. Back onto the main path, we can find some more stuff about, such as the Deku Palace, which is a very unique place in the game. Deku Palace is divided into 2 different parts, believe it or not. There is the East and West Gardens, plus the main palace. The main palace has a huge fire in the middle, and the king is in front of the room, with his amazing butler beside him, his Alfred, to his Batman to say. I enjoy the aesthetic of this room. I also like the prison on the side of the palace. I think it is quite interesting that they have built a prison into the room. Sacrifices seem to be a big part of lifestyle here. The gardens are also guarded 24/7. The bean seller also lives here, funny enough. And I don't think I mentioned this in the Termina Field video, but this is the only bean seller in the entire game. Something that really ticked me off, because I needed them for the Termina Field video. I'm not sure why he's here of all places. Maybe he struck a deal with the king, since his hole is marked by torches. But you also need to go here for the main quest to get to the upper levels. He could just be a freeloader. The other garden's also pretty boring. It looks cool, but it's pretty boring. Both of the gardens are, honestly, kind of cool looking. However, I don't think they really look that appealing overall. They're nice, but, you know, in the main thing of things, they're not beautiful. As for some trivia for the area, did you know that in French, it's called the Mojo Palace? Right beside the palace is the Deku Shrine, whose gameplay-wise is pretty much the exact same as the race with Dampy in Ocarina of Time. And I think that place is cool, so this is cool. This shrine's pretty interesting, and I'm curious of what they actually use it for. I do love how in the room with the logs, you can use them to get to the lower level. I mean, this really, it gives the area a really nice and compact feel. The Deku Shrine is hands down probably my favorite part of the swamp since it's quite unique. Leaving the shrine, we also have the Spider House. This place is quite cool, and I think it's odd, actually. The inside is a lot bigger than it is on the outside. I do like how the Spider House kind of feels like a shrine or a certain like type of cemetery. My only proof that this is a massive cemetery is the ginormous grave in the west room, which I never really paid much attention to until making this video. As I was playing for the game for this video, I thought I was really losing my mind. In the order I filmed, I beat Obligatory before I went to the Spider House. Now in the footage, you can probably see me roaming around the clean swamp and realizing, like, I'm really just walking in circles. And I realized, I was thinking, maybe these big poisonous flowers I couldn't find are tied to the fact that I cleaned the swamp. And it was. You know, maybe these big flowers are powered by poison. I don't know. Either way, I think they're cool and I like them. The area of the temple itself is also pretty interesting, I think. In case you haven't put the pieces together yet, they reused the Death Mountain asset where the temple's located. And I assume this is where all the water comes from in the area. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but I can assume this is some sort of fresh spring. As I said earlier, I do also like the waterfalls that are around the place. I think they really do add to the atmosphere. The area may be, honestly, out of all the grand scheme of things, my least favorite place in the game. In all honesty, I didn't really like coming back here, and I'm completely fed up with the Dekus, and I don't enjoy playing as Deku Link either. As for Deku Link, it's an interesting concept. It's very limiting, however, I don't enjoy it for that. I like how you can keep the momentum of travel on the lily pads and make it a little bit faster. Kind of like bee hopping. As a callback to earlier, this is a great show of the movement mechanics for the Deku. It's probably the only redeeming factor. Also, why can't Deku Link shoot Deku nuts at people? I'd rather be shooting Deku nuts than like these little like awful bubbles at enemies. Overall, Deku Link is fine. It's a nice mix up to the start of the game and it gives it a much different feel. Since I've made probably like 3 or 4 completely dedicated Majora's Mask videos so far, I might as well talk about Tingle. I really don't want to do this. Do I have to do this? Do I really have to talk about Tingle? You're serious? Okay. Tingle is this weirdo who thinks he's a fairy. He uses a balloon to make himself fly to draw maps, and this is how he makes money. Tingle, this is probably where he lives. His father works here and takes like incredible shame upon his son, and I would too. I don't blame him. Tingle is one of those is one of the few original assets made for this game, and I don't like him. I don't even really want to talk about him here, since I feel like I'm cannibalizing a future video idea too. But, you know, maybe I'll do it again, but better, in a future upload when I'm in 4 months after I've done, really 3 months after I've done Majora's Mask Facts and Fun Trivia, Episode 1. And, I mean, it's just Tingle. Is there anything else I had to talk about Tingle for? Oh, you want me to mention the game? Okay. This is odd, and I really didn't know this, but Tingle has been in 6 mainline Zelda games. I knew of his Wind Waker appearance, but I never played it, so I can't really say anything about that. Did you know Tingle had his own game? Yep, Tingle's freshly picked Rosy Ruby Land. It's a real mouthful of shit if the game's anything like the character. What do you mean I can't insult Tingle anymore? Okay. IGN gave it a 7, but I think it really deserved an 11. And it seems like the whole game, you just barter for rubies. It doesn't seem that bad at all. Maybe in 3 or 4 months, when I'm locked in to doing Majora's Mask videos for the rest of my life, which I really want to do, I could talk about Tingle's Rupee Land. As for the temple in the area, it's the first in the game and it's not very challenging. Woodfall Temple is the place of worship, it seems, for the Deku. Skull Kid, you know, as Skull Kid does, he also decided to put a curse on the temple, with the boss Owadowa to poison the water or something like of that lines. As I said, the water in the region is poisoned because of this. And to awaken the temple, you must stand on the Deku emblem and play the Satana of Awakening. There wasn't really much to talk about the temple, in all honesty. I don't really want to talk about the temple, but the guy dressed as Tingle with a pointed object beside me is making me. I'm not supposed to tell them? Okay. You know, here's some cool stuff I found inside the temple. As for some trivia about the temple, did you know it's called Duskwood Temple in German, and Waterfall Woods Temple in French and Spanish? Pretty cool stuff. I think Duskwood Temple is pretty interesting. and I like this name much more than the Woodfall. The outside look of the temple resembles a ziggurat, and the inside resembles a jungle area. As it stands for a Zelda temple, it's alright. Now granted, I'm not a thrill 3D Zelda connoisseur, I'm more of an Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask connoisseur. As on the fun to play meter, this new scale I've invented, this really just blows anything from Skyward Sword out of the water. I'm not supposed to shit talk, sorry, okay. This is not a full overview of the temple nor a guide. This is just the stuff I looked at and thought this little tour of the place, and I thought this would be cool to talk about in the video. And also, you also got to remember, I'm playing this with all the items unlocked, of course. The entrance is this wide open room full of trees and some plants at the bottom. It's pretty much the same theme throughout the whole temple. I do also like how in the majority of the rooms, the ceilings are leaves. It's obvious the temple has been overgrown for a while now, and I really like this aesthetic. This one room on the second floor I think is pretty cool, and it's directly above the room with the wooden flower. I like this little contraption here too, and I think it's really neat. These poison flowers are also really interesting, and I haven't seen these anywhere else in the game either. As I was getting bored in here, I really kept trying to find out new stuff to do. Like using the Zora mask and freezing the water. As I was replaying, I remember how empty this temple actually is. I like how the mini-boss rooms are all really similar, and they're just really nice, with a little bit of water and trees. The boss chamber is pretty nice as well. It's one of the few rooms without a leaf ceiling. I'll show some rooms from the original playthrough, like the pre-boss room, which I always liked, in this little montage here. Overall, Woodfall in the Southern Swamp is pretty neat. Definitely not my go-to area in the game, but this is neat nonetheless. Before we wrap up this video, I think we are going to take a small little break from Majora's Mask content. Now don't panic! This isn't a super long break, but I like to vary up these videos just a little bit. Also, all the JoeCast episodes are now on YouTube, so if you like to listen to 50 plus hours of me talking, go check those out. My favorite episodes are probably the JoeCast in Europe, 1 and 2. The Fartman episode, but there's also probably some more hidden gems in there, episodes I probably forgot I even made. If there is enough Fit Not Cry, I'll start making them again. I'll see you guys in probably 2 to 3 weeks, possible Half-Life videos since I'm really getting back into those games. And as everyone says, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. Have a nice day, guys.